Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today I'm going to be going over with you guys my top 10 most complimented niche fragrances of the year for 2020. Now, I went over this in my most complimented designer list as well, but I'll very briefly touch on it here. 2020 was not a great year for compliments. What a surprise. These 10 though did manage to pull me compliments at one point or another this year, even though I didn't really go out as much as I typically would. I've got all 10 fragrances on this shelf here, so let's jump into it and start checking these out. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Number 10, right over here, it is Danger from Raja Parfums, and this is the Parfum Cologne version of the fragrance. This does get compared to some other fragrances out there, most notably Guerlain Heritage, which is much more affordable, frankly, than this one is. It has oak moss, cumin, lavender, and citrus as some of the notes in the fragrance. This one has just tons of notes in the fragrance, which is something that you'll see all the time from Raja Parfums, just a very extensive note breakdown where they try to give you basically everything you could possibly pick up from the fragrance. Quality is really high, presentation very nice as well. And this one does have a gentlemanly kind of vibe to it, a little bit of a throwback vibe, but the Parfum Cologne version is slightly modernized, so that is gonna help as far as pulling compliments in goes. This one probably not gonna appeal quite as much to younger guys out there, so do keep that in mind if you're, let's say, mid-20s and younger. So Danger, Parfum Cologne, number 10. Number 9 is a fragrance that you might not immediately think of as far as compliments goes, but it's actually really solid at pulling attention, much more so for me anyway than the original. And I did love the original too. It's this one right here, Interlude Black Iris by Amouage. Now the original Interlude was known and still is known as the Blue Beast for obvious reasons. It's a really, really strong fragrance and it comes in a blue bottle. This one is not as abrasive, not as in your face as the original Interlude. And frankly, I think that makes it more wearable and more appealing and thus more likely to pull compliments. It's got leather, oud, olibanum, and myrrh, and as the name suggests, iris as well. As I mentioned previously, the opening here has been softened as compared to the original Interlude. The opening in the original could be really abrasive and could turn people off, but they reined it in here, and the addition of iris, in my opinion, has taken it to the next level. So Interlude Black Iris coming in at number 9, a surprising compliment puller, though it has done better pulling attention from guys than ladies. So, and still though, compliment puller. Number 8 is more of an obvious compliment puller. It's a citrus fragrance. People really enjoy citrus fragrances, and it's one of the better ones that I've smelled over the past few years. It's Note de Yuzu by Healy. There's sea salt, mandarin, and musk in here, as well as yuzu and grapefruit. This one does have kind of an oceanic salty vibe to it. I believe seaweed is also a note in this fragrance. So you do have that kind of beachy ocean saltiness in here, along with all that citrus. Still though, the citrus that's in here is fantastic. It's very brisk, a little bit biting, very fresh, and also sour and tart. So that combo of yuzu, mandarin orange, and grapefruit really shines through with the saltiness in the mid and ultimately a clean white musk once it does dry down. Really, really great in summertime. One of my favorite current citrus fragrances and a compliment puller as well. And this one will definitely set you apart from the more typical and basic designer citrus fragrances out there. Number 7 is another fragrance that might not be an immediately apparent compliment puller, but it actually is, believe it or not. It's right up here, Memoirs of a Trespasser by Imaginary Authors, one of my favorite houses. Like always, you've got the notes right here on the back. So you've got Madagascar vanilla, Gaiac wood, myrrh, bergamot, benzoin resin, and Brett seeds, and oak barrels as the notes on the fragrance. This one is for lovers of vanilla, but more specifically, people that love vanilla and also want some resins and smoky woods, more than a touch of smoky woods. This one is a little bit dark, it's mysterious, it's sexy, it's got a little bit of sweetness in there as well. This one is really easy to wear, in my opinion, at least as long as you're familiar with indie and niche fragrances, and is an attention grabber. Imaginary authors oftentimes does take kind of an artistic spin or an artistic style with their fragrances, and this one does have a little bit of that in it, but really nice, very easy to wear, and a compliment puller. Number 6 is another citrusy type fragrance, very easy to pull off in spring or summer or even fall. Still Life in Rio from Olfactive Studio. This one has coconut milk, it has rum, it has mint, and yuzu once again. So we've got yuzu here and also in the Healy fragrance. This one though, with that rum, gives it a little bit of a booziness, and this one has more of kind of a syrupy sweetness to it, whereas the Healy fragrance has more of like a tart, almost biting sour citrus. This one is very smooth. Ginger gives it a nice fresh pop in the opening, and because it does have that booziness in there, you can potentially pull it off in fall as well. Though for me, it's more spring and summertime. Fantastic daytime fragrance, one that I absolutely love. I've been wearing the heck out of this bottle since I first got it. Nowadays, the bottle comes in a different style. This was a bottle that they originally launched with, and this bottle style was actually being used by Zara at the time. And so they did an Indiegogo campaign, raised funds to make a new bottle style, but the fragrance is the same. So if you look this up nowadays, it's probably gonna be a different bottle, but same fragrance. Number 5 is a fragrance that I actually discovered this year. It's right up here. It is Mandarin from Precious Liquid. And just a really quick note on this, if you're interested in this fragrance or actually any fragrance in the house, you can go to their website and get free samples. You just have to pay for shipping, but they'll send you a sample of each fragrance in the house. Musk, rhubarb, myrrh, and of course mandarin orange, some of the notes in this fragrance. And this is just awesome in summertime. That's when I wear this, just summertime, and I go heavy with the sprays. So I'll literally hit myself 12 times with this one, just all over, because it's really refreshing, really clean, and it's gonna be the type of fragrance that is impossible to offend people. So basically, this one, this year, anytime it was really hot outside, sweltering hot, I would grab this and just douse myself in it, and it worked great. The rhubarb that's in there works fantastically with the mandarin orange. It's a really nice contrast. Rhubarb is a note that I feel like is a little bit underutilized. As it dries down, gets a little bit warmer, but for me, all about the opening and the mid with the mandarin and the rhubarb. Number 4 is from Tom Ford's Private Blend, and caveat time. Some people will consider Tom Ford, even the Private Blend line, a designer line. So they would say that this should be in a designer list, not a niche list. And I totally get that, but for the vast majority of viewers, it makes more sense to put it in with the niche lists because of the pricing and because it is more exclusive. So if you think this should be in the designer list, I get where you're coming from, but I think it fits in better for the vast majority of people. It's this one right here, Oudwood. This one has been a favorite of mine for a long time. Rosewood, sandalwood, cardamom, vanilla, and of course oud are some of the notes in the fragrance. This one is almost like that first step that you have to take as you get into oud fragrances. You've got to get Tom Ford Oud Wood, and it works so well in so many different situations. Fall and winter time especially. You can wear it casually, you can very easily wear it formally, you can wear it in business situations so long as you don't go too heavy on the trigger. You could even wear it on a date. Tom Ford Oud Wood is one of the most popular fragrances in the Private Blend line for a good reason. It smells amazing, people love it. And this one is one that you have to wear with confidence. Just throwing that out there. Now, I've seen online, on Facebook groups, on forums over the years, people make posts saying, I wore Oud Wood to whatever event and I didn't get a compliment. It should go without saying, you're not always gonna get a compliment regardless of where you're going or what you're wearing, so do keep that in mind. You're not guaranteed a compliment because you wore a fragrance. But this is the kind of fragrance, more so than a lot of the other ones that I'm talking about here, that you need to wear with confidence. If you spray this one on and you're not sure that you smell good and you're kind of weaselly about it, it's not gonna really give off the kind of vibe that people are gonna wanna come up to you and be like, hey man, you smell good. Unless they maybe realize that you feel really uncomfortable and they do it to make you feel better. So number 4, Tom Ford Oud Wood. It's a classic and for a good reason. We are in the top 3 and I'm gonna let you guys know right now, Ventus is not in here. It's not in the top 10 this year. Didn't wear it a huge, crazy amount. This one though is in the top 3. M. Micheloff Royal Vintage. And the reason I brought up Aventus is because this is one of those fragrances that smells like it was inspired by Creed's Aventus, because it pretty clearly was. Nowadays, if you buy this fragrance, it comes in a different bottle style. So it no longer looks like this. It actually looks like this right here if you buy it now. So they switched it up because this atomizer kind of sucks. Actually, it really does suck. This one has cypress, leather, bergamot, and pink pepper as some of the notes in the fragrance. And when you look at the note breakdown for this one and compare it to Creed Aventus, it doesn't look super similar. But when you smell this, you can tell that it's kind of inspired by Creed's Aventus. This one does make heavy use though of the cypress and the leather, so that helps set it apart from Aventus in a way. The bergamot in here is gonna give you kind of an approximation of how the bergamot and the pineapple smells in Creed's Aventus, but this one takes more of that green, woody, and leathery kind of approach. I actually really like this one. Think it's great in fall, great in winter, very versatile, just like Creed's Aventus, and also a compliment puller. Number 2 is from Parfums de Marly. What a surprise to see Parfums de Marly in a niche complimented list. Bet you didn't think that would happen. Crazy. It's not Leighton though. It's this one right here, which is Carlisle. Patchouli, vanilla, tonka, apple, nutmeg. Some of the notes in this fragrance. And this one gets compared to Red Tobacco from Mancera, though overall a bit nicer than Red Tobacco. And Red Tobacco is also actually a pretty good compliment puller, but the opening in Red Tobacco turns a lot of people off. It's aggressive, it's harsh, it's in your face, there's a lot going on. This one, much smoother, much more approachable. Performance is killer here. It's got a nice bit of sweetness in there, which always helps with compliments. It's a great fragrance. Carlisle is Parfums de Marly at its best. And by that, I mean luxurious fragrances that are super easy to wear. So Carlisle, number 2, not Leighton. And number 1 is not a surprise whatsoever if you've watched this channel, because it's a fragrance that I wear all the time for myself. One that I just absolutely adore. This one. Green Irish Tweed. Lemon verbena, iris, violet leaf, sandalwood, and ambergris. Some of the notes in this fragrance. Yes, it has some similarities to very cheap fragrances like Cool Water or Aspen by Coty. But this one came first, and quality-wise, not close. So this fragrance is over 30 years old, still doesn't smell dated, still very easy to pull off, ultra versatile, and still a compliment puller. Any situation you can think of in spring or summer, or for me, year round, you can wear this and it's gonna work. One of the most effortless, clean, green fragrances in the game. And number 1, because I wear it all the time, Green Irish Tweed. So there we go, guys. My top 10 most complimented niche fragrances 2020. Hopefully 2021 is gonna be better than this year was. Let me know in the comments some of your go-to niche fragrances when you're just looking for some attention, and I mean positive attention. As always, thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for your support. Stay safe out there, and I will see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.